Lover ran away before the wedding, driving the cold CO crazy. Hello everyone. Before we start today's story, I have a small request. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video on our channel. Your support means a lot to us. Where are you watching from? Leave your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. It all started that night. Serena Hale stood in the center of an underground auction hall, wrists tied, spotlight burning down on her like a cruel joke. Her family had collapsed overnight. Bankruptcy, scandal, lawsuits, and in the chaos, someone had dragged her into this black market auction meant for those who could no longer protect themselves. Bidders whispered, laughed, lifted their numbered paddles. And then everything stopped. A tall man in a black coat walked in, the crowd parting instinctively. Chase Donovan, CEO of Donovan Corporation, the man whose name alone could freeze the stock market for a minute. His expression was unreadable, cold to the point of suffocation as he raised his hand once. No one dared to bid against him. Minutes later, Serena was pulled out of the hall by his men, stumbling into the neon-lit back alley. Chase followed, walking slowly, hands in pockets, eyes colder than winter rain. He looked at her with cold eyes, as if she were an inanimate object. Her voice shook. "Chase, why are you here?" He didn't answer at first. He simply glanced at her wrists, then at her face, as if confirming she was still alive. Nothing more. When he finally spoke, his voice was even. "I was lacking something to entertain me, so I brought you here, Serena. Don't think I have any lingering feelings for you." The words hit harder than any slap. 3 years ago, their families arranged a marriage. Chase, already carrying the weight of corporate war and public scrutiny, had collapsed after a betrayal inside Donovan Corporation. In the middle of his darkest moment, when he needed someone the most, Serena had broke off the engagement without a single explanation. To him, she wasn't just a runaway bride. She was the blade that cut him when he was already bleeding. Since that night, he kept her by his side in a penthouse high above Manhattan, feeding her, sheltering her, protecting her, but never letting her forget the role he believed she now played. A beautiful toy, something he could reach for, control, hold on to, but never trust. Serena didn't resist. She accepted the coldness, the distance, the way he touched her gently but treated her as if she deserved nothing more. And because of that, she believed one thing with painful certainty, that she, his toy, had no right to bear children. So when the pregnancy test turned positive, she hid it, letting no one know. She decided she would leave quietly before he found out. And on the day Chase headed to LAX to pick up his first love, Serena made her final decision. She would disappear from his life, without a sound. Serena thought her disappearance wouldn't bother him, but she heard Chase had gone crazy looking for her that night, mobilizing the entire Donovan group. The hotel TV was still playing, and Serena sat frozen on the sofa. She tried distracting herself by scrolling through her apps, but the moment she opened them, Chase's face appeared everywhere. Trade expos, investment conferences, gala dinners. Every news outlet plastered him across their front pages. In America, he was now known as America's husband, handsome, cold, impeccably powerful. Then a viral interview clip popped up, and her heart nearly stopped. The camera zoomed in, and the entire comment section exploded over the same detail, a faint bite mark on Chase's neck. OMG, who bit him? Lucky girl. Someone's living the dream. America's husband has a secret lover? Serena's face flamed red instantly, because that bite was hers. Memory crashed over her like a tidal wave. The night before he left for a week-long business trip, Chase had held her like he couldn't get close enough, kissing her so insistently she could barely breathe. He murmured against her skin that he needed to make up for lost time, and no matter how exhausted she grew, he simply coaxed her gently, only to continue with even more intensity. Desperate to stop him for just a moment, Serena had bitten his neck as hard as she could, but instead of stopping, it only made him more unrestrained. The next morning, she woke to find him standing before the mirror, staring at the mark. Thinking he disliked it, she rushed over. "I'm sorry. I'll cover it with makeup." He froze, then replied, "No, leave it." For a single heartbeat, she felt a spark of hope, until he added coolly, "Don't misunderstand. It just saves me trouble." The memory stung like alcohol on an open wound. Serena blinked rapidly and returned to the interview on her phone. The reporter had asked directly, "Mr. Donovan, are you married?" Chase answered calmly, "Not married, but maybe soon." "Then your fiancé must be someone very special," the reporter added excitedly. Chase gave a faint smile. "If the proposal goes well, I'll introduce her to everyone." Serena's pulse skipped. Was he talking about someone else? Or, just then, the housekeeper's voice echoed from the hallway of the hotel. "Miss, did you hear? Vivian Lane is returning to the States." Serena's chest tightened, air thinning around her. So that was it. The woman he planned to propose to was not her. And as she stared blankly at her phone, another memory surfaced. The moment years ago when she had shattered their engagement at the exact moment Chase's world collapsed. A choice she was still paying for. Serena's thoughts spiraled as she sat alone in that quiet hotel room, memories bleeding into one another. Memories she had tried for years to bury. Her father and Chase's father had been inseparable since college. When their children happened to be born on the same day, in the same hospital, the two men drunkenly joked about arranging a future marriage. No one expected the joke to turn into a real engagement. Growing up, Serena had always chased behind Chase, literally. She remembered running after him on the playground, her little hands grabbing at the back of his shirt. "Wait for me. Don't go so fast," she had called breathlessly. When he turned around with that rare, faint smile, she declared with childish certainty, "I'm going to marry you one day." Everyone laughed it off, but the years passed, and the promise somehow solidified into reality. When they were barely adults, the two families held a formal engagement ceremony. Serena's childhood dream had come true, until she shattered it herself. Chase's world collapsed the year after his father died. Hostile takeovers, betrayal inside his own board, his company nearly torn apart. And right in the moment he needed support the most, Serena had appeared at his door with cold words. Break off the engagement. To Chase, who was standing at the edge of ruin, her rejection felt like a final, merciless strike. He had gone to her house afterward, waiting outside the gate for hours in rain and wind. Her father asked her quietly, "Do you want to see him?" Serena swallowed her tears and shook her head. Her father smirked in satisfaction. "Good. My daughter knows her place." After that night, Chase disappeared from her life entirely. She thought it was over. But the real tragedy came later. Her father's bankruptcy, the crushing debt, the suicide by drowning. Relatives swarmed like vultures, and in desperation, they sold her into an underground auction. And then Chase appeared. She later learned the truth. Even when his own power was unstable, Chase had gone head-to-head with a criminal syndicate to buy her freedom. Some part of her couldn't stop wondering whether he still cared. But she forced the thought away. No, the person he truly loved must be Vivian Lane, the one who pulled him out of the darkest chapter of his life. Still, Serena couldn't forget their moments together. Chase teasing her, watching her every move like she belonged to him. His hand on her waist in the mirror, pulling her close. The way his gaze locked onto her, possessive, suffocating. What she didn't know was that one night, Chase had slipped a ring onto her finger while she slept. If she dared to refuse when he proposed, he fully intended to marry her by force. But Serena didn't see that. All she saw was the pregnancy test turning positive, the tiny pink mark that threw her into panic. She hid it, trembling. And when she tried to shove the test into a drawer, she almost dropped it in front of Chase, leading to a string of awkward, breathless moments where their bodies were far too close, and she feared he might notice. She held her breath every time. And Chase noticed everything except the truth she was trying to hide. Serena did everything she could to hide her pregnancy. She woke earlier than usual to throw up quietly in the bathroom. She avoided standing too close to Chase during breakfast so he wouldn't notice how pale she looked. She counted dates obsessively, praying he wouldn't ask questions. But Chase Donovan was not a man easily deceived. He noticed the way she pressed a hand to her stomach when she thought he wasn't looking. He noticed how she avoided his touch, how she flinched whenever he came too close, how she excused herself from meals. And most importantly, he noticed she was late. One evening, as she tried to slip past him toward the bedroom, Chase blocked her path with one hand against the doorframe. His eyes were calm, but far too sharp. "Serena," he said slowly, "if you're pregnant, what will you do?" Her heart stopped. The world tilted for a second. She stared at him, breath caught in her throat. Panic surged up her spine, twisting her thoughts into knots. She forced a laugh, thin, shaky. Pregnant? I'm not. Answer me. His tone left no room for escape. Serena's lips trembled. Fear pushed the words out of her before she could swallow them back. I'll get rid of it. Chase froze. She didn't stop there. She couldn't. The terror inside her kept spilling. I don't want a child with you. Silence crashed over the penthouse like a winter storm. Chase's expression didn't change at first. No anger, no shock, just emptiness. A hollow quiet that stretched too long, too cold. Serena felt her own breath tremble as he stepped away from her, not saying a single word. He took his coat. He walked out. The door clicked shut behind him, gentle but final. The entire place became unbearably silent, as if every sound had been sucked out of the air. Serena stood frozen for a long time before sinking onto the edge of the bed, pressing her trembling hands to her stomach. She had hurt him. She hadn't meant it, but she had hurt him. Later that night, Chase ended up at a Manhattan bar known for privacy, dim lights, expensive whiskey, and desperate men running from thoughts they didn't want to face. He drank, glass after glass. His tie loosened, his eyes bloodshot, his voice thick with whiskey fumes. And every time the bartender tried to take his glass away, he muttered the same sentence, slurred and broken. I hate Serena Hale the most. Why can't she love me back? Those words reached Serena through a friend of the bartender. The moment she heard them, something inside her cracked open, sharp, thin, painful. She pressed a hand to her chest, unable to breathe properly. She hadn't known his voice could sound like that. She hadn't known he could hurt like that. And for the first time in years, Serena felt her own heart bleed for him. Chase didn't return to the penthouse that night. But by morning, something in him had shifted. The bitter words Serena spoke, I don't want a child with you, stabbed him deeper than he expected, yet they also forced him to confront a truth he had been running from. He wanted to keep her. He wanted her as his wife. And if proposing was the only way to stop her from slipping away again, then he would do it. He spent the next day arranging a proposal, rings, venue, everything. But before it could happen, the news came. Serena Hale had disappeared. Again. The moment he heard it, Chase snapped. Within hours, every branch of Donovan Corp's security division was deployed. Traffic cams were checked, credit card traces pulled, drones sent across the coast. Chase himself barely slept as he followed every possible trail, his mind consumed with a single thought. She ran. She ran again. It took him 2 days to find her. Serena had escaped to a small coastal town in Oregon, a quiet place with foggy mornings and wooden cottages facing the sea. She thought Chase would never look here. She thought she was finally out of his reach. She was wrong. Chase found her outside a local grocery store. Before she could even scream, his hand closed around her wrist. In one swift movement, he pulled her into his chest and carried her toward his car. She struggled, panic rising, but his grip only tightened. Chase, stop. Let me go. He didn't listen. He shoved her into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and drove off without a word. Hours later, the car stopped in front of a secluded estate tucked deep within a forest, far from any town, road, or neighbor. Serena barely had time to breathe before he dragged her inside. She tried to run. He caught her instantly. Her wrists were tied first, then her ankles, not painfully, but decisively, enough that she couldn't escape. Serena trembled, breath shaking. She had no idea what he was thinking, no idea what he wanted. Chase didn't shout, didn't threaten, didn't even speak. He simply cupped her face with both hands and kissed her. A furious, breath-stealing kiss, fueled by anger, fear, jealousy, and a desperation he could no longer hide. Serena could barely breathe under the force of it. He kissed her like she was the only thing holding him together. When she finally tore her mouth away, gasping, she screamed at him. Aren't you proposing to Vivian Lane? Chase froze, breathing hard. Then he leaned closer, voice low and hoarse. If I propose to her, why are you here? Serena's eyes widened. The truth hit both of them at the same time. And for the first time, the anger between them cracked open, revealing something raw beneath it. The apology hung in the air like a thin thread, one tug, and it would snap. Serena's breath trembled. Her struggle suddenly vanished, replaced by something heavier. Older, painfully familiar. Chase. Her voice caught. There's something I never told you. He loosened his grip on her, not letting her go completely, but giving her space to speak. His jaw clenched, his chest heaving with pent-up emotion. Serena swallowed. The reason I broke off the engagement wasn't because I didn't want you. His eyes flashed, a storm brewing. She struggled to get the words out, her voice trembling. My father. He threatened not to give me money to treat my mother. Forced you to break off your engagement to me. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I couldn't drag you into that mess. You had lost everything. I couldn't destroy you again. Chase stared at her, silent, frozen, jaw trembling. Serena cried harder. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. I know leaving broke you. But I thought I was protecting you. I thought it was the only way. A long, painful sigh passed. Then Chase exhaled. A hoarse, broken sound. His forehead pressed against hers as if he couldn't keep the distance any longer. I never loved Vivian, he said hoarsely. Not for a single day. Not a breath. His fingers brushed her neck, holding her gently, unlike the rage before. The only person I ever wanted was you. It's always you. Her lips trembled. His confession hit her like a tsunami, warm and devastating all at once. Chase leaned in, clearly intending to kiss her again. But Serena panicked and clapped her hands to her stomach. No. Wait. Don't. She gasped. He stiffened. What? She squeezed her eyes shut. I don't want anything to hurt the baby. Silence. Deadly, absolutely silent. Chase didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. After a few seconds, his voice dropped dangerously low and flat. What baby? Serena's shoulders slumped inward, small, guilty, scared. The temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. His expression darkened, a slow, cold fury. A search replaced the earlier despair. So you're going to hide it. His voice dropped even lower. Hide your child. A beat. Forever? Serena shook her head frantically. I don't know what you'll think. Chase interrupted her, eyes blazing. So you want my child to call someone else daddy? She choked back a sob. The room fell silent, cold and tense, between truth and rage, love and betrayal, both standing on a knife's edge. When Chase brought Serena back to New York, she expected cold walls, tense silence, maybe another argument simmering. Beneath the surface, she did not expect to step out of the car and see the front lawn of the Donovan penthouse transformed into something straight out of her childhood diary. Soft golden lights, cascading white roses, floating lanterns, and a glass walkway sprinkled with tiny silver stars. Her breath caught that it was exactly the fairy tale proposal she dreamed of when she was 12. For a long moment, Serena couldn't move. Her fingers curled against her lips, trembling. Chase stood beside her, expression unreadable but eyes steady on hers, as if silently daring her to look away. He didn't kneel. He simply held up a ring, simple, flawless, breathtaking, and said in a low voice that left no room for doubt, "Come home with me. For real this time." Serena nodded before her tears could form fully. They married the following week. Nothing extravagant, nothing loud. Just a small ceremony. Soft piano music, a handful of witnesses, and the kind of quiet warmth she once believed she'd never feel again. But peace didn't last long. At the reception, a tall figure walked in. Vivian Lane. Serena stiffened. She had spent years believing Vivian was Chase's first love, his unreachable white moonlight, the woman who would always overshadow her. Except, Vivian Lane was very much a man, and a ridiculously handsome one at that. Silver blonde hair, sharp jawline, deep velvet voice. He flashed Serena a polite smile. "You must be Mrs. Donovan. I've heard a lot about you." Before she could respond, Chase stepped in front of her like a wall of ice. "Eyes up here," he snapped at Vivian. "Don't look at my wife." Vivian raised a brow. "Relax. I'm gay." Chase didn't relax. If anything, he pulled Serena closer. "No one looks at her. Gay or not." Serena coughed softly, face hot with embarrassment. "Chase." He ignored her completely. That night, in the wedding suite draped in white silk and candlelight, Serena barely had time to admire the room before Chase pushed her gently onto the bed, eyes dark and possessive. In one smooth motion, he took off his tie and bound her wrists above her head. His voice was low, dangerous, and undeniably tender. "If I don't teach you properly, you'll never behave." Her breath hitched. Chase, I'm pregnant. He leaned down, lips brushing her ear. It's only the 3rd month, he murmured. You'll be fine. The world faded into warmth, soft, slow, overwhelming and no more running and no more misunderstandings and no more leaving. Serena finally belonged somewhere, and Chase finally had the one person he'd spent half his life chasing. They were truly, finally, each other's.